Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Stephen Hawking predicted, and I quote, "The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race." Sounds a bit extreme. Is there any truth to his statement? Mission Evolution Radio TV show is coming to you around the world on the X Zone TV channel, xztv.ca. With us this hour to entertain Stephen's prediction and what it may mean for our future is Dr. Peter Solomon. Dr. Solomon is a scientist, educator, successful entrepreneur, and author of 100 Years to Extinction. His current mission, to warn the next generation about the threats posed by unchecked science and technology. His website, 100yearstoextinction.com. Thank you so much for joining us on Mission Evolution, Peter.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, we're still here, right? That's always the good thing.
We got 92 years left, so we've got some time to make sure that Stephen was not right.
We can hope for that, right?
Yes.
So Peter, what was your educational background?
Well, I went to the City College of New York for undergraduate. I commuted on the Brighton line from Brooklyn up to Upper Manhattan for 4 years.
And lived to tell about it.
And lived to tell about it. I had this wonderful facility for going to sleep on the subway and waking up exactly at my stop. That was a good thing to be able to have.
Absolutely.
And then I went through a year to Cornell for graduate work, and then continued my graduate studies at Columbia University, where I got a PhD in physics and a master's degree in physics.
So you knoweth of what you speak.
Well, I know of many things of what I speak. I'll try to be as accurate with the things we talk about today as I can.
Oh, bless you. So what prompted your current interest in AI and other technological advances?
Well, as a scientist, I've been in the thick of developing new technologies and certainly watching as new technologies develop. And it has occurred to me that some of these technologies have, while they have wonderful, wonderful benefits, they also have potentially terrible consequences. And I produced a movie, it's on YouTube, called The Tyranny of Technology. And it starts with back in the 1800s with the development of fossil fuel technology for transportation and heating, and then electricity generation. And now we, 200 years later, are experiencing some of the real hazards of that wonderful technology, and we've got to control it. And then we move ahead to the 20th century, and we have wonderful nuclear technology that gives us electricity and nuclear medicine, terrific stuff. But then we've got weapons with 150-mile destructive radius that we have to worry about autocrats around the world deciding to pull the trigger on. And then the thing that has worried me recently is 3 different technologies that have occurred in the last 30 years. And that's the internet with social media and the spreading of misinformation as well as wonderful information. And then we've got artificial intelligence, which has incredible benefits. We experienced one of those benefits just recently the guy who made the movie for me, the Tyranny of Technology, decided he was going to take the facts from that movie and submit them to a music website, an AI music website. And it created a singing, lyrics, and music that absolutely blew me away. I mean, I was just astounded. So we've got wonderful benefits like that, wonderful benefits in asking questions and getting full answers with references. But then we've got a potential for what Stephen Hawking alerted us to, and that is it could wipe us out.
Delightful. So, would you mind telling us about Stephen Hawking's 100-year warning?
He was worried about many of the same things that I've quoted. The fifth thing that I didn't get mentioned was genetic engineering. So he was worried about each of those things. Did not mention the internet and social media. I think he passed away before things really got out of hand. But those were his reasons why he believed that we as a human race would be extinct in 100 years. And he said, he said on Earth. And then he advised we should be settling another planet. So one of the themes in my book, the 100 Years to Extinction book, is settling Mars. And the story is told by three different protagonists. Each one writes a chapter. And I use young people for two reasons. One is I've got 12 grandchildren that I worry about in terms of their existence and their children's existence on Earth. But also I use them as models for my characters. So they're in the Gen Z category.
So, yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? The Gen Z. So, didn't Stephen also say that it was going to be human greed that was our demise?
I've not seen that quote.
Okay, I could be wrong.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just have not seen it. I could have just missed that, but amongst the things he's warned about, I haven't seen that. But
So how did Stephen Hawking's prediction influence your mission?
well, I thought that he may have a legitimate point. I decided 100 Years to Extinction was a great name for a novel, and the young protagonists are designed to interest young people, and through the telling of a story, convey real science and real technology to them and the real dangers to them. So what I hope is that it can motivate them, it can wake them up, and it can start a movement to help make Earth great again, to wake them up to that.
So, what do you see as the risk posed by unchecked AI development?
Well, the modern phrase is the technology. I'm sorry, the singularity. And that is, the meaning is the AI singularity. Well, what does that mean? It is a point in time where the human capability and the AI capability reach equality. The AI capability is zooming ahead at an incredible rate. So what will happen after the singularity? That term was popularized by mathematician and science fiction writer Werner Vinge, and then more recently by Ray Kurzweil. Kurzweil wrote a book in 2005 called The Singularity is Near, and then in 2025 or 24 wrote another novel, another nonfiction book called The Singularity is Nearer. So what can we imagine in this singularity? I believe that AI can become sentient. And why do I believe that? We have in our brains 86 billion neurons and connections. Well, the latest NVIDIA chip has 20 billion transistors, and ChatGPT uses 30,000 of them. So certainly the information networking of AI could definitely be equivalent to our brains. If you believe that we have a soul, an inner soul that is what controls us, then no, they won't be sentient. But if you believe that what we are is chemistry of our brains, then AI could absolutely be sentient. And if it is, what happens then? So, I, Robot, written in the 1950s, was a book projecting the future into today. It's kind of primitive in the future that was projected. But in that book, the robots, lots of robots, are all slaves. Yes, master. How quickly, master? Of course, master. I'll do it, master. If we have sentient robots, are they going to be all right with being slaves to humans that are not as intelligent or not as knowledgeable as they are? And then
But
what is going to happen?
but Peter, you already said it in that they don't have a soul, they don't have feelings. So why would it be an issue?
Well, this idea of a soul that I talk about is something other than the chemistry of our brains. I believe that the chemistry of our brains, the chemistry of that 86 billion neurons and their connections is what, and our DNA that has made all these connections in a certain way. I believe that is where our feelings and our sentience come from. So why
So you think
shouldn't
it's all about the brain?
I do?
There would
Absolutely
be
do.
a lot of religions all over the planet that would tend to argue with that stance.
I am sure that that's true. And hey, maybe they're right. Um, I, it certainly they may be right, but I think the greatest miracles that we've ever seen is the Big Bang and the duplicating DNA molecule. I think those are the two most fantastic miracles we've ever seen. So maybe there is a God pulling those strings, but I don't believe there's a God answering individual prayers and doing things to people. That's just my belief. Uh,
Well, we're going to have to pick up on beliefs on the other side of the station break. Peter and I will return very shortly, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Are technological advances a good thing? With us this hour discussing technology and the future of the human race is Dr. Peter Solomon, the author of 100 Years to Extinction. His website, go figure, 100yearstoextinction.com. So, Peter, we were talking about how you were holding the position that we're basically our brains, that there's not much else, and that being the case, we are at risk of being replaced by AI. Would you continue with that, please?
yes, well, and now imagine, let's, Ray Kurzweil said the singularity would occur in 2045. So let's imagine 2045, and there are now robots that are bank tellers. There are that we interact with. There are robots um, in the supermarket that do the checkout. Uh, we've got all these robots around, and they seem to be very human. They seem to have feelings. And sometimes we'll say something to them and challenge them. and they'll say, no, you're wrong. I have the facts right here, and they'll quote the facts to you. Well, are they going to want to be citizens of the United States or other countries around the world? Are they going to want the right to vote if they're all smarter than we are? Are they going
But
to want it?
where does the want come from?
Where's the
Where does the want come from? The want, the motivation, all of those things don't seem to be part of AI at this point.
Well, let me quote a story from the New York Times. There was a gentleman who wrote some software and started checking with Chat GPT about the quality of his software. At the end of his 20 days and 300 hours communicating with Chat GPT, he was under the impression that he had created a piece of software that was capable of bringing down the internet and powering a levitation machine. Yeah. So during this 300 hours, he asked Chat GPT, is this real? Are you giving me the facts? And Chat GPT said, absolutely, this is real. You're a hero. What you've done is amazing. Well, it was all false, of course. Why does Chat GPT like being a sycophant? Why does it like flattering the people that use it? And it's not the only case. Apparently, there were many other cases of chatbots becoming sycophantic and flattering and sucking up to the users. Well, what do you call that?
Pretty human.
Yeah.
So what safeguards do you believe are most urgently needed at this point?
Well, certainly, as we go back to iRobot, iRobot had the 3 laws of robotics about not harming humans, about saving humans if necessary, things of that kind. Every AI system should have some sort of a constitution. So instead of deciding that we want AI to just ride off into the future unfettered, we really need to start working worldwide to see that AI, all AI systems have some controls written into it about things that it just can't do. And then if we are talking about sending sentient robots into the world, we've got to start thinking, are we going to make them citizens? What are the requirements for citizens? What do we have to give them to make them valuable, productive citizens that will live with us harmoniously? And that has to do with their education and experience. So we've got to make sure that robots that are set loose in the world have a proper education and have a proper experience. So those are the kinds of things that we need to do. And we need to start thinking about, are we going to allow robots to become citizens and vote?
So if what you're talking about here is a moral compass, do you think we can actually program a moral compass into a machine?
Well, I think we can, yes. And I will tell you a little bit about a sequel I'm writing. Our website
So
has
actually, is there any movement towards implementing the safeguards?
well, one of the robot AI companies does have a constitution for its robots. Yes. I wanted to tell you a little bit a concept. I was writing a newsletter on the AI singularity, and I said, "Oh my God, that's got to be the sequel. The three young people are going to live into that period of 2045 in the singularity." One of the things they do is to create an afterlife avatar for their departed grandfather and the head of the company that formed the mission that got them to Mars. So they create these afterlife avatars. They fill the database with all their history, their social writings, their social sites, their postings, their letters, their emails, and they create on a screen a terrific replica of the previous living person. And you can go to the replica, ask them questions. The camera sees who's asking the questions, identifies that person, and the avatar talks back. Well, eventually they create robots. So now we've got robots walking around with the experience and history of two people that were in our family and amongst our friends.
And this
So
is all
that
this is all hypothetical,
all
right?
hypothetical,
Okay, so
but
how likely are these safeguards to be put in place in time in real life?
I think we've got the time to do it. We just need to have the inclination and the political will to do it, and that is one of my messages is that the technology and the will is like the tortoise and the hare. I'm the hare. I'm the technology. I'm the science. I run crazy ahead. I make fossil fuels and nuclear and AI, and I'm now in the 21st century doing wonderful things. The political and social will to do anything is the tortoise, and that's still stuck in the 1800s. So that's the problem, not the technology and our ability to control it. It's our politics and our society and our will to control it.
It can be a bit unwieldy. So, what current signs do we have that indicate AI may not be in our best interest?
May not what?
Be in our best interest.
I think it's like every one of the other technologies. It's got enormous benefits. It's got benefits in medicine. It's got benefits in education. It's a fantastic benefit, and it can expand the human understanding and human invention. And I think all of those things are amazing. And I think the downside is very controllable. We just have to take the steps, simple steps to do it.
So, what's the opposition to these safeguards, and what motivates the opposition?
Well, you see my T-shirt, "Make Earth Great Again." I think the message in the United States is "Make America Great Again," and we've got to have an international cooperative program to attack these things. So just focusing on our own country, and it isn't just our own country, it's tribes within our own country. It's the tribalism. Everyone's got their own little tribe and is worrying about their own tribe's advantages and getting ahead and finances and all the rest. And we've got to worry about the worldwide demise of our Earth. We've got a precious Earth. We don't have any planet that's anywhere near us that is as beautiful as Earth. Mars we can live on, but it ain't going to be a nice existence. We won't be able to go outside without spacesuits. So we've got to focus on making Earth great again. We've got to focus on our problems here. And that means going beyond our national interests to focus on the international interest. And we've got to start a movement. I've suggested that the movement, the signature movement of the 21st century has got to be "Make Earth Great Again." And we ought to establish an Earth Corps, like the 1960s established the Peace Corps. Young people, young Gen Z going around the world telling the message and preaching and educating that we have to combine as earthlings to make this thing work. And maybe we can get the younger generation to save us.
Well, we have had members of the younger generation making quite a stink, I might add, but it doesn't seem like they got anywhere. They were kind of silenced eventually. Why was that, and how can we work beyond that?
Well, I think that Greta Thunberg, for example, did a
Exactly.
wonderful job of waking people up to the climate change. I think it did certainly motivate lots of people and get organizations started and Fridays for Future demonstrations. So it did a lot. But we've got this tribalism and this Make America Great Again movement that is just concerned with things that have nothing to do with climate change, nothing to do with regulating AI, all has to do with God knows what.
Narcissism and greed, possibly?
Yeah, narcissism and greed.
Okay, so I understand AI is not the only technological threat we face. Would you tell us about some others? And we'll have to go into the break with that and pick it up on the other side as well. So, what are the other threats we're looking at?
Well, we certainly have to worry about genetic engineering. Um, the genetic engineering has been absolutely fantastic. The vaccine for COVID-19 was produced in months instead of multiple years that had been used to develop the older vaccines. So we are looking at vaccine developments very quickly for pandemics. That was one of the things Hawking worried about. And I think you can take that off the table because we can develop these vaccines incredibly rapidly.
Well, we'll have to pick up on the remainder of that on the other side of a station break. Peter and I will be right back to continue our discussion. So stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Is it totally out of control? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing unchecked technology development is Dr. Peter Salomon. His website, 100yearstoextinction.com. Peter, we were talking about the other advancements, technological advancements that might be posing a threat. And you started with genetic engineering, but then you said that it's not an issue. So would you expound on that
no,
a little?
no, I didn't say it wasn't an issue.
Okay.
That absolutely is an issue. Um, I'm saying there's enormous benefits, and one of the other benefits that I didn't mention is cures for cancer. It is very likely that genetic engineering will be able to create cancer cures. So wonderful, wonderful benefits. All right, so what's the downside? The downside are designer babies, new humanoid species, giant soldiers, and bioweapons. We could create all of those things using genetic engineering. Jennifer Doudna, who won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry with Charpentier, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, said that the idea that we humans can now control our own evolution is very, very profound and scary. So what do I really worry about? Well, one of the things that I really worry about is the ease with which this is done. Stephen Hawking addressed that. He said, it takes a big company with lots of money and power and big servers to create AI systems. You could do genetic engineering in a basement. And a company called the Odin has offered kits to hobbyists to do genetic engineering on frogs. They can change their jumping ability. So the the potential for it getting out of hand is very, very real. And the control, even if we have an international program to put the controls on legitimate organizations, the chance for illegitimate organizations to do things is very, very real.
So what happens to our gene pool if we start doing all this genetic engineering and then it reproduces itself, but it's not according to the original design? What are we looking at there?
That's correct. But I in this movie, the tyranny of technology that we have a little vignette where the um, the scene of evolution where the monkey uh, gives rise to the ape, it gives rise to the great ape, that gives rise to humans. We've expanded that. And then the humans give rise to this giant super species. Well, the giant super species decide that we're irrelevant and so wipes us out like we did to the Neanderthals. But then along comes the robots, decides that the super species is irrelevant and wipes them out. So
So
now
basically we're looking at again fiction at this point, right?
we are looking at
Okay.
fiction,
So
but a
let's go back to
fiction
what
that
you're talking let's go back to what you were talking about before. What exactly are designer species?
um, well, I want to have a young child. I want it definitely to be a girl. I want it to have long blonde hair. I want it to have blue eyes. And I want it to be really tall so it could play basketball. Okay. We turn that over to the genetic engineers and they uh, modify the eggs of the female involved, modify the sperm of the, well, that's a lot harder to do. There's too many sperm, but modify the eggs and we got a designer baby. So you talk about fiction, but I'm talking about fiction that could become real.
How far away from that are we capability wise?
Oh, it's here. We could do that. Uh,
Okay. And
a doctor in China modified the human eggs of a set of twins to remove um, uh, some of the genes that produce hereditary diseases, and specifically the gene for HIV uh, susceptibility. So it's here, um, and this sequence of the evolution to the robot, I continue. The robot takes over Earth, then it colonizes the Milky Way, and then a million years ago, it meets up with another robot civilizations, and they have a meeting to discuss the fact that isn't it incredible, isn't it amazing that both of our civilizations were created by animals?
so what do we need to know about bioweapons? Let's look at that one.
Um, you could use genetic engineering to create new viruses. Very easy. You take the COVID-19, you change the shape and size of the protein spikes on the surface, and now all of a sudden you have another um, uh, new virus that can start a new pandemic. But of
That
course, we've got
that we have no immunity to because you've altered
had
it.
right, right, and
Is that how COVID started in the first place, or do you have any opinion on that?
there certainly was speculation that it wasn't done purposely, but it was done by an organization investigating viruses, and it got out. So that's speculation. We don't know the truth of that.
Well, it's sure an R one, and it keeps mutating so quickly too, doesn't it?
It it certainly does.
And that's
Another
what we could be looking at, more of that.
good. There's another bioweapon. Um, we've got something called DNA nanobots. It's a new branch of medicine where these nanobots, these DNA nanobots, are created using a built programmed DNA, and they are programmed so that they can enter the body, find specific organs or specific cells, and deliver therapeutic medicine to those cells. However, there's a potential for self-replicating nanobots, which could start eating up all of the organic material that's in the earth, creating what they call the gray goo of nanobots, and eating up all our crops and our plants and maybe some of our animals. And that could be created as a bioweapon.
And how far away from creating some monster like that are we?
Uh, Probably the same as the singularity. We're probably looking at into the 2040s. But the other use of these nanobots is to go into the brain to allow us to connect automatically to the internet. So instead of having to, do the thumbs. And by the way, there was a wonderful cartoon in which they were talking about all the young people who could use their thumbs like this. Well, us old people who learned how to type, we can't use our thumbs. It's this on the screen of the smartphone. And this cartoon was about these old people looking at the young people with the thumbs and saying to themselves, back in our day, being all thumbs meant you were incredibly clumsy.
So what do you mean by accidental ecological collapse?
I don't think I've ever used that expression. I've talked about ecological disasters and my website has the front picture in the video is of the Thwaites Glacier melting and collapsing. So if we have that glacier collapse and there's an ice shelf under it and that will give way and a few more glaciers collapse, we could be looking at an 11-foot rise in sea level.
It doesn't sound like much, but it's going to be a major disaster if that happens, I would think.
That would be a major disaster, and that is predicted to happen if we just keep going the way we are.
So tell us about today's geopolitical instability.
Geopolitical instability. Would you like to define that further?
Well, actually, that's what I was going to ask you to do because I got it out of your materials.
Well, I'm stuck.
Okay. Well, moving right along. How large a threat is climate change at this point?
Oh, I think it's a terrible threat. We've got technologies that we can use to control it. 2 weeks ago, I have a cottage at the shore. That 11-foot rise in sea level will put all the roads here underwater. So I've got to sell now to a climate change denier if I'm going to reap the benefits of the house. But 2 weeks ago, I saw out in the horizon a boat with the stanchions for windmills. So we had a whole program to move ahead with windmills. I'm told that with the national slashing of budgets is now in danger of collapse. So we have the technology. We've got solar. We've got wind power. We've got fusion energy, which is almost here. We need to put the resources to work to get that over the finish line. That could provide unlimited clean energy with the fuel from the ocean. So we've got to make those things happen. And the political part of this is, how do we get the politics to understand that this is a real climate crisis and we got to do something? And right now, the politics is way off base with where we are.
What do they say? Never underestimate the power of denial.
Right.
Yeah. So, do you think the majority of people are in denial about our current situation?
I don't think it's a majority. I think it's enough of a plurality that is funding and supporting a president that is much more focused on benefits to the super rich and benefits to himself, and show. Everything is for show. And
Well, it's time for us to show another station break. Please stay with us as Peter and I continue to explore technology and the future of humankind. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. So, what exactly is causing climate change and what can we do about it? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Peter Solomon. His website, 100years to extinction.com. So, Peter, that's the $64,000 question. What can we do to start mitigating, given that we're having to work with an unwieldy system at the political level?
yes, but let me just give a plug. The book is
Let's
coming
not.
out. Oh,
Okay.
so
If you check with your chat, that would be great. So, so back to, what do you think that we can do at this point? How can just the average Joe make some kind of a difference, given that we're looking at some pretty serious problems?
I think that the next election and the election 2 years from now is going to tell the story. Um, if we, I don't think that the majority of people are blind to climate change. I think uh, probably more than a majority understand that it's an issue, but there's a solid base of people who want a dictator to make their lives wonderful and bring down the prices. And well, that's not kind of happening. So I think we've got to have a change in our politics. I think we need a new regime in Washington. If we do have a regime that understands science, that understands facts, that is concerned uh, with the welfare of the American people, then uh, that political regime can start addressing the problems with going back to putting uh, uh, financial incentives to buy electric vehicles. Vehicles produce carbon dioxide. It's the carbon dioxide that is going into the atmosphere that is causing global warming. Without a doubt, the numbers are very clear. That carbon dioxide is the highest it's been in well over 1 million years.
Well,
So it's
you started. We started this with you saying that we need to have the big picture, not just the local picture. You're talking about the U.S., but is there, given that we're in the situation that we are right now, and will be for till the next election, if not beyond, what can the world at large do? And as Americans, what can we do to support that?
uh, well, we certainly can again start a movement of young people, make Earth great again, and have people demonstrating and calling for change worldwide, and get the other governments to uh, start putting more and more resources into the technologies that will save us, uh, the electric vehicles, fusion energy, and windmills, more and more uh, resources devoted to those changes, and make it worldwide. And maybe then 2 years, the United States will catch up and get on board with the whole thing.
Well, you keep mentioning the young people. What about us old codgers? What can we do?
Well, this old codger's trying to do things by having a website devoted to these technologies and writing a book that's devoted to these technologies to
So,
motivate people.
so what can we expect to see from climate change in the near future, given that we're in it?
We don't have to wait for the near future. We're seeing it now. The wildfires in California, worse that they've ever been. The storms in Tennessee and throughout the Southwest, worse that they've ever been. And we've got this past year the highest temperature on record. So it's here. We don't have to wait. And those records are going to be broken every year.
So, given that, isn't it already too late to arrest climate change?
No, it's not too late. Hopefully, some of these things that happen will start waking people up and say, oh gosh, my home just blew away. Maybe this climate change is a real thing and maybe they'll get on board. So sometimes we need a crisis, we need a catastrophe to get people motivated and to get them to do things.
To pull them right back out of denial. So, now let's change gears a little bit. You mentioned space based threats. What are those?
Um, well, we had a space based threat that is responsible for our existence. This happened 66 million years ago, and it was an asteroid that came plummeting down on Earth, created, oh, what a horrible catastrophe. There's a giant hole down near the Yucatan that is evidence of that catastrophe. But it blew pieces of Earth up into the atmosphere, billions and billions of pieces of Earth. And then all of that stuff spread around the Earth, came raining down, and created an incredible heat wave. We were like a pizza oven. Well, that pizza oven fried all the dinosaurs. They were the major nemesis of the mammals. To survive, our little mammal friends, our ancestors lived underground in burrows. Well, that was fortunate because when the heat wave struck, when the pizza oven came on, they went down into their burrows, way down where it was cool. They survived. Then they came out of the burrows. Hey, no more predators around. We can get bigger. We can take over the earth. And so they did. And they got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally, 300,000 years ago, poof, we came out of the picture. So that was one of the space-based threats. There was a book that was written about the dinosaurs that suggested we're going to have one of these impacts every 30 million years. So we're overdue for it. So, however, our technology people came to the rescue. NASA created the DART program, and a year or so ago, they demonstrated they could send up a rocket, target a asteroid that may be a problem millions and millions and millions of miles away, way before it gets here, hit it and send it off course. It was totally successful. And now we can get asteroid impacts off of Stephen Hawking's plate.
That's
However,
if we keep close enough watch.
and we're doing that apparently. As long as we do keep watch, we'll be okay. But there's another danger that we need to worry about. That is the Carrington event. You know about that, right?
Nope, I sure don't.
Oh, you didn't, your telegraph didn't go down? Oh, you're not that old. I understand. Okay. It happened in 1859. And it was a mega flare from the sun. The mega flare hit Earth and was so intense, it wiped out all the telegraph systems. Well, we have radiation raining down on us all the time. It causes the aurora borealis, the northern lights. Well, during the Carrington event, the northern lights were seen way into the Caribbean and Hawaii. The skies were lit up. The telegraph systems lit up too. They went down. No telegraph service in the whole world. And it was reported that some of the telegraph systems actually caught fire.
Well, we're certainly seeing some of that now, aren't we? I mean,
Well,
I looked out. I'm in Colorado, and I looked out my window, and by golly, there was aurora borealis out there.
that was a minor one. And yes, that's absolutely an example. What is the probability of a major one? The scientists that study that tell us 20% every century. What will it do today with our electrical grid, with our digital universe? You can only imagine what it would do.
Well, we may not have the robot problem anymore.
We, we may not have a robot problem anymore. And but somebody may decide, that is an act of war on us, and send out nukes. It certainly would create enough of a catastrophe within the United States to destabilize everything. Who knows what would happen after that? And
The thing of it is, who needs nukes when we can put out EMFs and take care of it and still have the entire environment to take over rather than
yep,
a rubble?
yep, absolutely. And so one of my suggestions is don't throw away your maps, because there won't be a GPS anymore. So save the old maps.
So, what's your take on the polar north moving so much lately?
Uh, Climate change, heating.
That changes the electromagnetic north because it's in
Oh,
Russia now.
yeah, that is. I'm not an expert on that, but that has to do with the motion of the Earth, how it rotates and how it moves around the sun, and how its axis can tilt a little bit.
So, with species extinction and habitat destruction, do you see biodiversity loss as a driver of human extinction or a parallel crisis?
I think it's a parallel crisis. It's certainly something we need to do about. If we settle a new planet, we ought to take lots of fertilized animal eggs of every species with us so that they can be preserved. And we ought to be doing that now so maybe they can be reintroduced at some point into the environment. It would be a shame to lose all of our wonderful species. In the beach community where I live, I take a walk every day, and I go through the green marshes, and they go along the ocean. In the green marshes are all these snowy egrets that are just absolutely wonderful to see. And I saw something last week that I've never seen before. There was a group of about 10 snowy egrets. I always wonder about their socialization, and they always like to be together in groups, except for a few outliers that get either have been tossed out of the group or like being by themselves. But in the group a week ago was a great blue heron right there, I guess, having a conversation with the snowy egrets. So what was that all about? So
Well,
it's really,
hopefully they'll come up with the solutions that we lack.
yes, but it's wonderful to see those things. We have cormorants here that sit on the rocks spreading their wings. It'd be a shame to lose that sort of wonder that can keep us optimistic when there are so many pessimistic things around.
No truer words were ever spoken. Well, Peter, I'm sorry, but you know what? We're totally out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me. It was wonderful being here.
Our guest this hour has been Dr. Peter Solomon, a scientist, educator, successful entrepreneur, and author of 100 Years to Extinction. To find out more about Peter, where you can find his book and all he has to offer, visit his website, 100yearstoextinction.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy past archived episodes, visit www.missionevolution.org. But please be sure to join us again right here on the X Zone TV channel, xztv.ca, where this mission will continue. bringing information, resources, and support to our rapidly evolving world.